think we're in for another fun one as we head down to the state of Texas. We've been all across the country and the world talking to artists, and we're heading back to Texas for this one as we have a great guest. He's a country artist. His latest album, Alive and Well, is out now. Let's get right to it and welcome in Hayden Baker.
How you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. I'm good. Now, before I ask my first question, before I start the shows, always we have a chat beforehand. I make sure I say everyone's name right, even as simple as Hayden Baker. But I'm guessing you get that wrong. People get that wrong a lot, whether it's spellings or pronunciations, all of the above.
It's a lot of venues and even baseball announcers when I was in high school. They love to call me Hayden Barker. Just recently in Oklahoma, we were there and we get to the venue and Hayden Barker is on every piece of paper in that place. So I don't know what it is, man. Maybe I should go under that name.
I was gonna say, if nothing else, maybe an album with the parentheses around the R
Yeah,
type thing.
I'll make all my burner accounts on socials Hayden Barker. There you go.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, this is Bar Conversations. We've got your name right so far. We'll see if I screw it up on the posting. But this is Bar Conversations. What's your go-to drink? What you drinking tonight?
I'm having a good old ranch water, man. Tequila soda with lime. It's been my go-to for a while now. Want to keep it, clean, but I'm a big bourbon guy, and as you can tell from a little bit of it, big Shiner beer guy. I've got 114 different Shiner bottles here in the studio.
Love
I've
it.
been collecting them since college, so I get around, man. I like a lot of different stuff.
I like it. I like now. Being down in Texas, you got a lot of whiskey down there. What is you got to go to down there, or is it something else? Somewhere else. What's your go-to bourbon?
Man, one of my favorites on the affordable side is I like Jefferson's Reserve. Love the Blantons, love the Buffalo Trace, all that kind of stuff. Down here in Texas, I love Balcones out in Waco. They've got a lot of good stuff. And Shiner actually just opened a distillery, and they've got bourbon and rye. I haven't got to try them yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that.
I love that. I love that. I was gonna say it'll have to go on the wall behind you.
I know, right?
A whole new section there.
Hmm.
And you mentioned the tequila water. I'm guessing just a regular blanco, nothing too crazy. You don't get in the reposado and viejos too often.
I definitely do. Today we got the Terramana Blanco. Just I like it's a nice, affordable, easy, easy tequila to sip a ranch water with. My fiance and I though have started collecting the Clase Azules.
Ooh.
She's loved just the design of the bottle. She's got the earring, she's got the necklace, she's got, all kinds of a dog toy for the dogs. It looks like one. And a couple Christmases ago, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen her actually drink it before. So I got her the Reposado for Christmas and she loved it. So it's kind of been a thing now. We have the Reposado, the Blanco, and the Ultra Añejo or whatever I got her this Christmas. So we like collecting those too.
I love it. I love it. Now, I don't have any balcones, and my Texas whiskey's getting a little low, but I do have one, a little still Austin, a little cash
Oh
strength.
yeah, still is great, man.
So had to break that out for you. Always enjoy their stuff, and you're from Texas, born and raised there down in Katy, I believe. What was it like growing up in Texas, and kind of that environment, and how'd that shape you?
Very humid. No, it was great, man. It's a blessing to do what I do and be from here. I was just talking about this in a couple of meetings I had in Nashville last week. It's just being able to learn and grow and get your feet wet and kind of figure out how to be an artist while making a pretty solid living is such a blessing, and you can only do that in Texas. So I'm very thankful for growing up here and kind of getting immersed in that scene early on because I haven't had a day job since I graduated college. It's been pretty cool.
I don't know. You've had a very interesting job, nonetheless, I would think.
I have a bunch of different jobs that I'm an artist, but there's so many different jobs that go into that folks really probably will never understand. They just see the 90-minute set every Friday and Saturday night, but that's the play, man. That's not the work.
Well,
Yeah.
and for those that know you, you love the guitar. That's kind of what it's right behind us, behind you as well. But
Yep.
before you picked up the guitar, before you got into all this music stuff, you love playing football, baseball. That was kind of your jam, right?
Totally. Again, I was in a label meeting this week talking to some folks, and they were asking me some questions, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of the prototypical, dude country artist that tried to play college baseball and didn't make it, so he started doing this. I thought I was unique when I first, when I first told that story, but I've learned it's kind of a popular story for us country artists to tell. Is we had elbow surgery or blew our knees out, and then now we try to sing country music. But yeah, I toyed around with baseball for 20 years and played in college, played JUCO ball and 1 year of D1, and then chose music over that and finished up my degree at A&M.
Well, and you mentioned I believe you had elbow surgery, and that's kind of when you started to do the singing and the writing, right? Is that kind of how that all happened?
It was pretty much around the same time. Yeah, I'd been playing guitar for a few years. I did that first while I was in high school, and then my freshman year of college, tore my UCL, had to have surgery, and yeah, was out for a year up in Lufkin, Texas, with not much to do, and just started. I was good at the guitar already, and I was like, well, let's see if we can figure out how to sing and how to write, and I'm still doing that. Almost a decade later, it feels like I'm trying to figure it out.
Well, I believe you picked up the guitar around 16, which you have described as quote a God thing because it came very easy to you, relatively speaking.
Yeah, God and probably a little bit of playing a lot of Guitar Hero as a kid. I'm serious. I think I credit just like the mechanics of it to that. Like I was really good at Guitar Hero in like junior high. But yeah, it came pretty quick, man. I can't explain it. I always loved the guitar, and I always was curious about it growing up and everything. And I think just when it came time to finally tune one up and figure it out, I was obsessed with it. The more I figured out, the more I wanted to learn, and I wanted to learn it now, ASAP. So it was cool.
Well, and you kind of mentioned, obviously things just kind of happen. You were playing baseball, but you picked up the guitar, had the elbow surgery, realized, sports may not be the end all be all for you in the end. When did you, though, kind of realize, like, hey, music could be a thing for me, like, could be that job, could, provide for me and things like that?
It was probably the first time I realized, oh, I can do this. Was I was a junior in college. It was probably I think it was 2018, and we got the call to open for Willie Nelson in Sugarland, Texas, in front of 6,000 plus. Looking back, I should not have been on that show. I didn't have any music out. We were finishing up my first project at that time, and boy, I stepped out on that stage in front of 6,000 like it was nothing. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't scared. I was excited, and I really embraced the moment. And to this day, that's still the biggest crowd I've played in front of. So it was like, you know, it was kind of a taste of here's what you could have, but you're going to have to really work for it. And I've learned that, playing for crowds of 10 to, now we're selling a couple hundred to a few hundred tickets a show. Um, but yeah, I think that was really when I figured out, okay, I can do this. And then I carried that confidence over to the studio and in the writing rooms and just kept on going, man.
Now, obviously, at some point, there was an artist or someone that just had a big impact on you. What music did you grow up with? Who made that impact on you, back then and even to today?
Yeah, I've always been a lover of music and all kinds too. Growing up, it was country, it was the '90s stuff. I grew up at the Houston Rodeo. My dad worked star security there, so I was around a lot of the celebrities at a young age, and so the Brooks and Dunn stuff, the Alan Jackson stuff, the George Strait stuff was always on the radio. Steve Wariner and Mark Wills, stuff like that. Really grew up on that stuff, and then when it came time to the guitar playing, that's when my obsession with Brad Paisley began, which has turned into a friendship. I can't call it obsession now because he thinks it's weird and wouldn't hang out with me anymore. Um, but I saw him play when I was 17, 18 at the rodeo in Houston, and I was just like, my goodness, like I want to play like that. And I've spent these last, like I said, like 8 to 10 years trying to figure it out, and it's been fun, man. He's incredible.
I'm a huge Brad Paisley fan as well. Being a West Virginia native, I live in Kentucky now, but
There you
growing up in
go.
West Virginia in the northern panhandle where he's from, he'd actually know
Yeah,
my where my hometown is, which most don't. But
that's
um,
cool.
but you mentioned Brad Paisley, who you love. He's called you, his new favorite guitarist. I mean, how does it feel to go from, like you said, that obsession to now a friendship and him saying nice things? He didn't have to do that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
I paid him to say that. No, no, it's really been incredible, man. He's such a generous human being and just a wonderful person. And I think it was just our friendship honestly stemmed from the fact that we both love the same things when it comes to music. We love the amps and the pedals and the guitar tone and all that nerdy stuff. And I think he just was excited to see somebody, in this younger generation that was excited about that kind of stuff, just like he was. And yeah, it's turned into a great friendship. We keep in touch a lot. He played on that album in 2024, and we rib each other all the time about the Astros and Dodgers and baseball stuff. And he's great, man. He's been wonderful to me and all my crew and family. He's incredible.
and we'll get to the album because there's a fun question there. But he gifted you a 1953 Telecaster, right? And I believe left a message for you as well.
He did, yeah. He gave me a 53 Refin 2 years ago now, or maybe longer. I can't even remember. Um, and he wrote under the pick guard. So I haven't looked at it in a while. It's like Hayden, quit ripping me off, BP, and put it under the pick guard in pencil. And it's still just so crazy. That's my number one guitar too, man. I play it every night in the show. It is an absolute beast of an instrument.
Well, and I mean, being able to play the guitar, that guitar, things like that. I mean, how does that guitar kind of amplify your sound that you kind of want to have? That country element with maybe a little twang and just a unique sound to you.
Yeah, it's awesome to have because I didn't I'm not one of those artists that like came from a ton of money or had like big old sponsorships out the gate kind of thing. And before that I didn't own like a truly just remarkable guitar instrument. And it is true, like if you don't have a good setup and a good well playing guitar, it can be hard to play. You can be fighting it, and I kind of felt that in my first couple of years of touring, just getting what I could afford instrument wise. And man, ever since I had this guitar, it's like I'm on autopilot when I play. It's like, this is what a freaking Telecaster should feel like. This is incredible. So it's given me more confidence in my ability because it's just like a baseball glove. It's like an extension of your hand. You want to feel like it's just second nature. And yeah, it being a vintage telly with all the vintage saddles and just everything I love about a Telecaster. It's it it's twangy. It is twangy. I love the sound of that thing, man. It's great.
Well, and you mentioned having Brad play on the album or a little while. Don't Meet Your Heroes.
Yep.
He did a guest solo kind of middle of the song. Is it
hmm
true you were both stumped when it came to actually learn and figure out how to play that live once when you're like,
I
hey, how do I do that?
I still am. We play it in the show every night. That's kind of the guitar moment. And there's sometimes where I'll like if I have a steel player or a fiddle player or something, I'll let them kind of solo over where he played. But most of the time lately, we've just been four piecing it, and I'm taking the only guitar or the only I'm taking all the solos. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and try to learn what he did. Like that's what I've been doing my entire career is learning Brad Paisley solos. Now there's one on my song. Like I got to learn it. I figured out probably half of it, and the other half I just kind of wing it in the show. And yeah, I asked him, and he was like, I don't know. He's like, I have no idea what I did. So that's true. That's a true story.
That's when you're like, well, what good are you, Brad? What good are you? Come
Yeah,
on, man.
exactly, man.
You're a
Exactly.
pro. You're supposed to know
You'd
these things.
think. You'd think he doesn't have to play it every night though, so he's not worried about it.
That is true. That is true.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's cool to see where that relationship has gone. And I believe you also mentioned, early on and getting to meet some of the famous acts that came through down at the Houston rodeo, thanks to your dad. And one of those is ended up signing you to his publishing company, Perfect Pitch, and that's Ronnie Dunn. What's it been like
That's right.
working with him? And I mean, meeting him so long ago, and now working together with a living legend.
Out of body experience, I think is the best way to put it. Yeah, I started working with him and writing with him back in 2021. And that was like when I'd come to town a couple of times before that to Nashville and written a couple of times, but really hadn't like immersed myself in that scene just yet. And my first real experience with going to town and writing with a bunch of people and signing a deal, my first write was with Ronnie Dunn, which is just unheard of and should have like scared me like crazy. And it didn't. It just felt like, it felt like I belonged, and and he did such a good job of making me feel that way, which I'm so thankful for. Um, and yeah, we still, I was only with that company for a year, but we still write together. We wrote together a few months ago. We've written 5 or 6 songs, and we talked on the phone last week. He's just an awesome dude. Another great like hero turned friend slash mentor, which is like I said, just out of body experience. I can't. It's hard to put into words, man. It's incredible.
Well, and you joked earlier that you never had a day job, so to speak, but you really have, because you're an independent artist. You've been doing that for most of your career, and obviously there you wear a lot of different hats, and I'm not just talking about the ones you wear on stage.
Yeah.
So, why was it important for you to go that route, and what's it been like to have some of these guys now that that you can maybe ask a question or two, and just build off of things.
Well, it's I mean, going that route for me was out of necessity, man. I didn't have, any labels or anybody banging on the door early on, and they really shouldn't have. I wasn't. It's been a slow burn for me as an artist, where kind of getting everything to come together when it comes to my guitar playing, my singing, my songwriting, the production, all that kind of stuff. It's been a real slow burn, and I'm thankful for that too, because the journey has been incredible so far, and I'm only 28 years old, so I'm excited to see where it goes from here. But it's been very humbling, I'll tell you that, being an independent artist. Like you said, you wear so many hats. You got to be this day and age, you got to be a business manager, uh, your own financial advisor, content creator, graphic designer, musician, songwriter. You got to be good at taking phone calls. You got to be, so many different things. Bus driver, van driver, all that kind of stuff. So it's been a humbling experience, and I'm so thankful for it too, because I absolutely love what I do. And we're playing a show in Houston this weekend at one of my favorite venues, Dosido. And there's going to be a few hundred people in there that bought a ticket to come watch us play, and that's because of all the day job stuff. That's because of all the boring stuff behind the scenes, which I'm super thankful for.
Well, and you know, along the way, you've been able to get some accolades as well. I believe earlier, well, or not earlier this year, because it's 2026 when we're talking.
Yeah.
Back in 2025, I believe you were named Musician of the Year at the Texas Country Music Industry Awards. I mean, what was it like to receive that honor? Because, like you said, it's been a slow burn. Obviously, that means other people and folks that don't know, Texas is a big has a big music scene
Yeah.
down there. So to take that one home, how did that feel?
It does have a big scene, and it feels great. They also gave me at the end of last year the guitarist of the year at the TCMAs at Billy Bob. So got a twofer last year, which was it was awesome because the musician thing to me really was an honor, because I take so much pride in the just the ins and outs of making records, and recording all of my own guitar parts and guitar solos. I take those things very seriously, and just because you never know who might be listening, that it might inspire, and for the industry to recognize that, it was pretty cool, man. It lit my fire even more and made me want to make the next record even better.
Well, and this last record was pretty awesome, and that was Alive and Well. It was released back in October. You've mentioned, I believe, this record features a little less guitar showmanship compared to others. Why'd you
hmm
kind of want to shift the focus and show your growth as a vocalist and songwriter over the guitar?
Yeah, I think coming into this record, being out, most of the Texas scene and most of the Nashville scene, like the industry up there, they knew me as the guy that could play guitar like Brad Paisley. They knew me as the guy that could shred, and all that kind of stuff, and had the long hair and the mustache, I guess. Um, and I really I had started feeling like I was coming into my own as a vocalist and starting to figure that out, which has taken a long time. I was not a natural singer when I first started, so that's been a journey. And I've been fortunate to be in the writing room with some very talented writers in Nashville over the past few years, and I've started to kind of hone in on what my sound is and what works for me and what doesn't. And I had a good batch of songs that were mostly ballads, or they just had really good hooks or really solid melodies, and there wasn't, in my opinion, a place to fit a bunch of crazy guitar stuff in it. But I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to force it into those kind of songs. They don't need it. I want to serve those songs. Um, and so, yeah, like you said, putting this album out, I really wanted to prove that I was not just a guitar player that could kind of sing and wrote songs every once in a while. I wanted to prove that I was a singer songwriter that could play guitar really well. And it's been out. That record's been out for a few months, and I'll tell you, it's the response that I've gotten, especially on that song "Letting You Go." Um, there's a lot of doors that have been opening because of that record up in Nashville and beyond, which has been awesome. The record is doing exactly what I hoped it would for me in my career.
Well, and that's why I said country artist, because you do it all. You play the music, you play an instrument, you write the songs, you sing them as well. And is it true too? You took off kind of a year to focus strictly on songwriting before this album. Like you really put an actual effort into a little more focus than normal.
Not before this one. I'm kind of doing that right now. The time where I really took some time off to write was when I was signed with Ronnie's company. It was like 2021 to 22. He heard my stuff and he was like, "Okay, you're really good. You need to learn how to write. We're going to teach you that. We're going to just throw you in writing rooms every week up here in Nashville, and you'll figure it out." And he goes, "Don't." And he was advising me like, "Don't put anything out right now. Let's focus on your chops in the writing room." And that was kind of back then. It's really been a cyclical kind of grind since then. Whereas 2023 we put out the EP Growing Pains, 2024 was barely getting by, and then last year was Alive and Well. So it's kind of been a cycle of like writing a bunch, hit the studio, cut a project, put it out, get back to writing, hit the studio. It's like I didn't really ever stop. But this year, I really want to spend my time and money and energy and focus on promoting and pushing what we already have out, because I think we've got some good material out in the world, and I need to stop like just aborting the mission when it doesn't go viral immediately and starting the next one. And I want to give some more love to what we've already done, just on the marketing front. So that's kind of this year for me is going to be a lot of writing and a lot of marketing. It feels like, and then we'll hit the studio when the time is right.
Well, I love that. And the album's fantastic. You're letting it breathe a little bit and letting folks find it. And when they do, you open up with the single "Home into a House," and that's been one I know fans have loved as well. Um, what was this like to kind of write that track and the storytelling behind it?
Yeah, I wrote that with a man named Robert Arthur, who is a songwriter that actually wrote a bunch of Brad Paisley songs with him. He's been with a friend of Brad since the beginning, and he's really good at kind of the tongue in cheek stuff. So they wrote songs like 2 Feet of Topsoil and You Do the Math, and a bunch of those kind of funnier, quirkier songs. And he's a great guitar player too. So it's really fun to get in the room with him. And when we actually wrote that idea, we were writing it first as a ballad, which is funny because this album's already full of ballads. Um, it was like, because the first verse was pretty pictures on the wall, scented candles down the hall. And like, I mean, it was slow, sad, like pretty pictures on the wall, scented candles down the hall. And we got like into the chorus, and Robert goes, "Buddy, don't shoot me now, but this could be a shuffle." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he played the groove. Dun, 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 dun. And he said, "Pretty pictures. Da, 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 da." I was like, "I'm sold. Let's do it. Let's finish it that way." And it came together pretty quickly, man. Like that was one of the songs where I didn't change a thing from the work tape to the studio. Lyrically, chord progression, the guitar lick, it was exactly the same. just with more instruments on it. So I love that song, and I love that guitar solo and playing it live. It's a blast.
Well, and then a song that is maybe a little bit more tongue in cheek is "I Had a Headache Once." Is that a little throwing your sense of humor in there? Where did that one come from?
Yeah, that was my buddy Ethan Phillips. That was his title. I stay with him in Nashville. I stay in his guest room. I have for the past few years, and we've written a bunch together. He's also a writer on "What Part of No" on the album. And I remember he had tossed that idea around in a couple of our writing sessions, and it got glossed over, and we decided on something else. But I was fortunate enough to stumble into him and my other buddy Carson Peters, who's a writer on Braxton Keith's new single too. They were writing, and I said, "What?" And they were like, "Man, we're stuck." And I said, "What's the song?" And Ethan said, "It's the I Had a Headache Once" song. And I was like, "Oh man, I've always thought that was funny." And so they graciously let me jump in, and we put our heads together and came up with what that song is today. But that idea was Ethan's, man. That's just so funny. He had heard it from another friend of his. Like it was a joke that somebody told. Somebody said they had a headache, and he just went, "I had a headache once, so I left her." And Ethan wrote it down, and we made it into a song.
I love it. I always would love to have a dive into everyone's notes folder and voice memo folder just to see the fun things that have been said that they have written down for somewhere down the road.
That's where all the money's made, man. Is in that notes app. That's where it is. That's
And
where the gold is.
I mentioned, I believe you're getting married in 2026, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, but I believe you've also said it's still easier for you to write sad songs. So where do you draw that heartbreak inspiration from if you're happy? Where does that come
Yeah,
from?
it's a very interesting thing. Me and my buddies, we always talk about it. We're like, why is it so easy to write sad songs? I don't know, man. I think it's just innately country to write sad songs, like more so that's the whole tear in your beer thing. Like it's what we gravitate towards, maybe. But for me, there's always parts of your life that aren't going the way you want it to go. It may not be your relationship with your spouse, but it could be a million different things. And I really do try when I'm in a headspace like that to try to draw from it because that's a really real feeling that, disappointment or sadness or whatever. It's something we all, I think, as humans feel pretty intensely. And if you can channel that into a thought, into a melody, into something that'll evoke that emotion in the listener, I think it's really valuable. So I've always gravitated towards ballads as a fan, like even nowadays, when I'm driving down the road and listen to Paisley stuff, very often I don't listen to the guitar picking songs. I want to sing along to the sad ones, or I want to belt out some, emotional ballad that Ronnie Dunn's singing. So I don't know. I'm trying to write more love songs. I finally got a good love song waltz written here recently that I'm going to cut at some point. I'm excited about that, but I don't know what it is, man. I think it's just country to be sad, you know.
That is true. When you're telling the stories, there's a lot more sad stories. I feel like than,
Yeah.
than the happy ones. But I mean, also, and you and your fiance, like I said, getting married this year. Have you written any songs for her, or have most of the love songs kind of been just they were there in general anyway?
I've totally written some for her. There's one on this last album. We should do this more often. I think it's track 3. I love that song. I wrote that one with Gloria Anderson. She's another Texas native. And I woke up one morning early, which doesn't happen because I'm out late all the time and I'm a night owl anyways when I'm creating and stuff. But I woke up early one morning and she works a day job and she was still asleep. And she kind of rolled over and laid her head on my shoulder, and I was awake for that. And it was, the early morning thing. The sun's peeking through the blinds and stuff. And I thought to myself, "Oh, this is nice. Like we should do this more often." And I rolled my arm out from underneath her and grabbed my phone and wrote it down. And immediately in my head, I was like, "I want to make that, because we should do this more often." It's kind of like a pickup line that you
Hmm.
hear like in a bar. But the way I thought of it was really sincere Like this moment is special. I want to feel this again. So I was like, man, it'd be cool to write a song where it's like a passing of time through the verses or through the choruses. And it starts out as a pickup line to the girl. And then the last one is like, you've been married for a long time. You've kind of gotten away from, the intimacy of the relationship. And then something happens to trigger it to get you back to that. And I wanted to get to the thought that I had in bed that morning. And Gloria and I mean, we wrote that song in a couple hours, I think. Like it just kind of fell out of the sky. So that one, there's one called Something I Can't Do that came out in 2024. That was definitely about her. She's on the cover art of the single. And there's some in the Notes app that are about her too that haven't been out yet.
I love it. I love it. Another track off the album that I've enjoyed, "Country Ain't Goin Nowhere."
Oh
What does
yeah.
that song mean to you? Because maybe I feel like there's a little foreshadowing, maybe that you're hoping for. I don't know.
I hope so. I think that was a great one too. That's also Ethan Phillips and I, and oh no, I'm sorry, Ethan wasn't on that one. That was Jacob Boyd and I and Tom Perkins. And the original idea was Tom's idea to be, talking about the country lifestyle, kind of that dirt cheap Cody Johnson, like I'm not giving up my land kind of mentality. And we wrote that first verse pretty quick, and then we were trying to figure out where to get after that. And then I was like, what if it was like you went to country music again, because there's this like neo traditionalist movement going on that I'm a part of, I guess you could say. And what if he like alluded? What if he told a story about a kid in his bedroom and he's learning Ricky Skaggs and Brad Paisley solos, and like you name drop the chair, and like you say country going nowhere. It's alive and well. That's where that line comes from. Is that song? It's in good hands with this young generation that loves traditional country music. Um, and then I love the chorus line. It's living and breathing alive and well from every rodeo to county fair. Like it's out there. So I love that song. It kind of wraps up the record as a whole. I feel like for me, and that's a blast to play live too.
Well, I mean, like I said, the album's fantastic, and like I said, you've been doing this for a while, but I believe last year alone, just last year, you amassed over 2 million streams. What's it like to see the growth of that? And for being quote unquote a Texas artist, Texas based artist at least,
Hmm.
to have really a global audience that is listening to you.
It's pretty cool, man. We're actually playing overseas for the first time this year. We're going to Norway and headlining a festival out there. So it's a super humbling thing to just, I get messages all the time from people like, I'm down in South Africa, I'm in Canada, I'm wherever, and we love your new song. It's a testament to how incredible the internet and streaming can be. And everybody's like afraid of AI and all that stuff and what it can do. I think that's the flip side. That's the cool side of it, is it's connecting you and your music to people that never would have met you or heard of you otherwise. So it's pretty cool, man. I'm just, and it again, like all this stuff, and the more eyes and ears that get on what I do, like I said, it lights a fire in me. It makes me want to write better songs and play better solos and sing better in the studio and all that stuff.
I was gonna say, doing this show, I've learned country travels a long way. It's not just here in the U.S., Canada as well, Europe, Australia, you name it.
Amen.
It is there. And earlier you mentioned, you got to share the stage with folks like Willie Nelson.
Hmm.
I believe Tracy Lawrence as well. What's it been like to open for those guys and be on those stages? Because like you said, some of those are still your biggest shows yet. You're still doing your own thing and playing that scene as well. But what's it been like to have those moments, in between?
Very forming. That's those moments and those shows have truly taught me how to be an entertainer, because your job in that environment is to get that crowd ready for the big dog that's about to come on. So the last thing you want to do is go out there and be a dud. Like you've got to put together a 30 to 60 minute set, like 8 to 15 songs, and you've got to get them riled up. You got to really grab their attention, and that doing that, taught me how to write a set list and how to, be an entertainer and be comfortable in front of big crowds and all that kind of stuff. And it's it's been awesome, man, because now we get to play our own shows, and we're not selling thousands of tickets yet, but I think we're well on our way. And I know, how to entertain a crowd now because of that, because of all those experiences, and we continue to do so. We still open shows every now and then, and it's fun, man. It's where you make new fans out on the road, and you can go out there, and if you do it right, you'll walk out of there with a couple hundred new fans, and they'll come see you the next time you come to town.
I was gonna say that's the perfect way to get yourself out there, and you mentioned you being able to learn so much on the stage, whether that's the 6 10,000 people or a couple hundred in the bar. No matter what, though, what's the best part for you being on stage?
Oh man, I think it's I used to say it was like I just love cranking up the amp and ripping a guitar solo, and I still do, man. I really still do. But my favorite part of the show right now is that song "Letting You Go" off the album. Like I said, it's taking on a life of its own, and it's banging doors down right now. People are singing it back to us, and all that stuff. And I don't have a steel player full time in the band yet, so I can't play it full band like I want it to sound live because there's so much steel guitar on that song on the record. So what we've been doing is, whether it's our 90-minute headline set or it's a 45-minute opening set, and near the end, I kick the band off and I key into that song and I play that song just me and an acoustic, and it's so like raw and just emotional, that song, even with like instruments. But when you dial it back to just me and a guitar in a room with 500 people and they're all dead silent listening to that song, it's a religious experience. It is pretty freaking cool, man. That I can, being a part of a song and writing a song like that to get people to shut up and listen and list like focus for 3.5 minutes when there's nothing else going on. There's no what do you call it? Smoke and mirrors. It's just me and
Hmm.
a guitar and a song. That's been my favorite part of the shows recently. It's like if my amps go out and my guitar tone isn't cutting it that night, or if this isn't working or that isn't working, I'm like, I know "Letting You Go" is coming up at the end of the set, and I've got them there. Like that's going to be the moment that everybody remembers from this show. So that's been the coolest part lately.
Well, and see, at the beginning of the show, I love to ask what you're drinking. At the end, I'd like to ask this question. I'm going
Hmm.
to have to preface it because I think you've already sort of answered it, so I might have to ask for the second answer. What's your
Okay.
favorite song to perform live right now?
Oh, I'll do a different one. "Letting You Go" is that's kind of scratching a different itch for me. That's the singing and the intimate part. But as far as like the full band experience and we're all getting after it and going, we do a if it's one of my songs, I would say it's probably "Midnight Drive." That's off of my "Growing Pains" EP. That song's just full of gorgeous harmonies, and it's got one of my favorite guitar solos I've ever played. And we've been leading into it with I'll do "Dreams" by Fleetwood Mac because it's kind of a similar chord progression thing going on, similar motifs and whatnot. So everyone loves like it's just I just do that acoustic, thunder only happens when it's raining. Everybody sings along, and then we just go right into "Midnight Drive." That's been one of my favorite parts of the show lately. But also for covers, we've been doing a medley of like an Eagle song, like either "Peaceful Easy Feeling" or "Take It Easy" or whatever, into "Miami Miami" by Keith Whitley, and then into "Bluest Eyes in Texas" by Restless Heart, which has all the harmonies and stuff. My guys in the band can all sing. So when we have the medley right at the end before the last song. And like we do the end of "Bluest Eyes in Texas" fully a cappella, no band. My drummer hits the "Where did I go wrong?" and like that whole thing, and the crowd just loves it. So that's been another one of my favorite parts.
See, I love that question because I get answers like that because to me that shows the true artistry of a live show and why live shows are so worth it. It's one thing to hear it on the album, it's another to hear it live because you get all those different experiences whether you change up the song or you get a fun medley to see just how talented everyone is in the band. And I'm
Totally.
guessing for your band mates, they're like, "Aha! I get to show I can do some things."
Yeah, exactly. It's fun, man. You don't see like especially with the Bluest Eyes in Texas, you don't when you're not like a band like the Wilder Blue or Shenandoah or whatever. Like if you're not one of those Diamond Rio, it's not as I don't see it as much of like people focusing on 4 and 5 part harmonies, like the Eagles did when it's just an artist and his band. So that's been really fun for me and these guys is to come up with stuff in the show where we can showcase our harmonies and the crowds love it when you don't play anything and you just sing and it's 4 dudes singing, somewhat on pitch. We can get off base here and there, but locking in together like that, that's such a cool experience in a room for people to enjoy. So that's been super fun to kind of bring to light.
No, I love that. I love that. And I mentioned you got the wedding to look forward to in 2026. You talked about wanting to let this album get out there, live a little bit. What else can fans expect from you this year? We still got a lot of the year left to go. What are you looking forward to and sharing with folks?
A lot, man. I can't say anything yet about the stuff I'm really excited about because none of it has solidified
I was
yet.
gonna say I forgot to preface my question. That won't get you in trouble.
That won't get me in trouble. There's a lot of stuff just career wise and making the next steps that these first 2 weeks of the year, last week in particular, being up in Nashville, stuff is changing, stuff is moving, and it's happening all at once, and it's happening really fast, and I'm super excited about it. There's a lot of business mumbo jumbo that has to get taken care of before I can announce anything. Um, and just stuff getting ironed out and making sure it's the right things for me. But this album, like I said, all I can say is this album has Alive and Well did so far has done exactly what I hoped it would, which was put myself out there as a true singer songwriter artist, and like I'm getting noticed by folks in town, important folks in town in Nashville, not because of my guitar playing, which is new for me and it's exciting. It's like, okay, now we're starting to kind of, figure that out. And then the guitar is just becoming this added bonus. It's not just like, this is the only thing I have, don't listen to my singing. Just wait till I get to the next guitar solo. Now it's different. Now it's like people are coming to shows to hear the songs. And if they haven't been to a show before, like, the first song of the set, I just hit them with a guitar solo and they're like, oh, I didn't know he could play like that. So I'm sure there will be at some point in this year some kind of announcement that will be very satisfying to make on the socials. But I couldn't tell you what it's going to be yet because there's a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of balls in the air right now. But it's exciting. I'm thrilled, and I'm super thankful for where we're at going into this year.
I love it. A good tease. Follow along on social media. Get the teases, learn what's happening, and also if you haven't yet, go listen to Alive and Well, then go down the rabbit hole. I don't think you'll be disappointed because Hayden loved the music, and I love too, like you said, album Alive and Well is a little different than maybe some of the other ones. People are getting to see a whole different side of you and getting to see a full catalog that is fun to listen to, man.
Totally. If you missed the guitar playing on this one, don't worry. The next one's going to have a lot of it. I promise. I promise you.
I love it. I love it. A good balance. Well, Hayden, thank you for sharing your story with me. Thank you for sharing a drink with me. And cheers, man.
Cheers, man. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.